everybody, it's the Library Lady, and I'm so glad you're here today and have found my channel, The Library Lady, on YouTube. Today I'm featuring this book called Summer of the Woods. It's part of the Virginia Mysteries series, and it's book 1 by Stephen K. Smith. As you know, I've started my channel to highlight different books, both picture books and chapter books, that I think that are worthy of sharing as part of my segment called What's a Story? And What's a Story is designed to give you some ideas on great books, but as well as some ideas on how you can incorporate that into your class or your home, which for many of us now is one and the same. So hopefully this will give you a good idea of what the book is about, and then ways you can use it to interact with your child. Now, I always like to give a shout out for all the credits that are due for authors and illustrations, so let's start with that. It was copyrighted in 2013 by Stephen K. Smith, illustrations done by Melissa Rose, and the book cover design by ebooklaunch.com. So it's a great book that you might want to check out. It's full of adventure, mystery, and a little bit of history all mixed in together. So as always, chapter books, are a little bit longer depending on the age of your child. You may want to read this with them, or they may be old enough to independently read on their own. So I'm going to start with chapter 1, and then we'll get started on some ideas on how you can use this book. Chapter 1 is called The Woods. In the long, hot summers of central Virginia, the trees danced at night. Inside the old white house with black shutters, 2 boys watched the towering silhouettes rock in the breeze outside of their bedroom window through the moonlight. The brothers shared a room and talked back and forth to each other in their beds, trying to keep themselves from falling asleep, like all boys do. When they grew tired of talking and laughing, they lay still and listened to the wind moving through the high trees all around their house, moaning like an old train slowly chugging through the darkness. It was the second week of June, and the school year was over early, since only a few snow days had been used over the winter months. A seemingly endless summer vacation lay ahead of them. The air was getting hot and the days were long, stretching far into the evening. Derek and Sam had just moved with their parents from up north to Virginia the week before. They said goodbye to their friends and their school and followed the moving truck on the long drive down the interstate highway. One of the things that had excited them most about moving into their new home, despite having to leave all they knew behind, was the deep woods that lay past their backyard. So as their parents unpacked the house, the boys began to venture outdoors. At first, the dark woods were a little scary for Sam, who was 8, and Derek, who was 10. But as the boys cautiously began to explore this new, uncharted world, their young minds started to dream about the adventures and mystery that lay beyond the grass of their yard. Years later, when they'd grown up and had families of their own, the brothers loved to talk about the memories from their very first summer living in Virginia. The Summer of the Woods. And as you can see, you have the title there, Summer of the Woods. So the premise is that Derek and Sam have just moved from the north down to central Virginia and have a great span of woods in their home area, and they are out to explore them. As they're out exploring them, they come across a coin. The coin then leads them to other clues and things, and they discover through an elderly neighbor that this coin is quite rare and part of a mystery from a 60-year-old case where some coins and things had gotten stolen from a local museum. The boys then encounter all sorts of danger, adventure, and excitement through this journey as this coin has taken them from the riverbank where they find it to the ending, which we won't give away on here. So if you do like history and mystery and adventure, this is a great blend of all those things. One thing you can start off right off the bat with your reader, especially if you're reading it together or to your child, is connections. Many kids have moved at some point in their life, and automatically in the first chapter we encounter that Derek and Sam have moved. So discussing that with your child, how did they feel? What was it like to leave their friends behind? Talking about their old house versus their new house. And that's a great way just to connect to the characters at the beginning of the story. Now, as you read through the story, they do find a rare Indian head coin. I did learn a lot about coins throughout the reading of this book and kind of my exploration of ideas. And one is just exploring the usmint.gov website. There's a lot about coins on there. In fact, I learned the word numismatic, which is a study in about the collection of coins and currency. Never heard of that word before, so automatically you can learn a new word with your child. But the US Mint website has a lot of great resources about collecting coins. They have some pages on their website just devoted to kids and coins. So that may be a place to just explore for fun, or maybe start your own coin collection. Start to notice the dates on coins and when they were minted. So Indian head coins were first created or minted back in 1859 up until about 1909. So from a historical standpoint, depending on kind of where in history your child's either interested in or it's part of their curriculum, is to maybe do a timeline. Now you may want to span that whole timeline or take a segment within that chunk and explore major historical events or maybe events that are particular to your state. As you found out, these boys live in Virginia, but no matter where you live, you can explore different things that were happening in the US and your state during that time period. So that may be a nice way to map out a timeline. Now, maps are another great resource, and I have one here. I am not an artist by any means, so I've just crinkled up some paper, and you can barely see my really sad drawings, but you may want to create a map, like a treasure map. You can, with adult supervision, burn around the edges to make it look really rusted, or do it on brown paper, and they may just draw one. Now you may want to make it a little more interactive, and you might want to write clues and make it like a scavenger hunt, or if you want to incorporate some math, go ahead and put it on grid paper and talk about the coordinates on the X and the Y axis and going over and up on your map. So those are all some math and map related activities that you can do, because the boys do a lot of exploring on there. Now, one thing you might want to do also, if you're real adventurous, is actually go camping. Now, you may be limited right now on where you can camp, but your backyard's probably an option, or someone that you know may let you use their backyard, or maybe even in your house. My boys just did a camp out in our back den, and they loved it. We set up the tent, so maybe doing that. Now, I will say, if you're doing an outdoor camp, you may have your child just listen to the sounds. Whether it's in the evening or the early morning or both, have them maybe write and journal. What sounds do they hear? Could they draw or illustrate some of the sounds that they're hearing? And then maybe even write about that experience. How was camping? Some kids have never been camping, and if you're not real adventurous, this might push you outside of your comfort zone. So that may be a fun thing to do with your kids. Right now, you can't tour a lot of museums and things like that, but I would recommend maybe if your city or town has a local museum, to go and check it out to see what do they have on display. It might not be coins, but again, because this mystery is revolving around some coins in a local museum, you may want to see what your local museum has to offer. So lots of math things that you can do with the maps, a lot related to the coins, so check out the US Mint website. And hey, go out and camp and enjoy nature. I would recommend checking out book 2. That's called Mystery on Church Hill, which is an area located in Virginia. And the boys continue on their journey. So do explore the Virginia Mysteries, and again, explore his website to learn a little bit more about his other titles. And I think you'll have a great adventure and journey with Derek and Sam. One other real quick thing that you might like to do, as I always like to talk about characters, is a Venn diagram. If you're not familiar with what that means, you kind of make 2 circles, one circle being you or a character, and another circle for the other character. And what you do is you put in characteristics about one person and the other person that would be different about them. And then in the overlap of the 2 circles, you go ahead and put things that they both have in common. So if you wanted to do Derek versus Sam, if you wanted to do another character versus one of the boys, if you wanted to do yourself, you could go ahead and put those in the circles and then look at the commonalities in the middle part. So that's a little writing activity if you're looking more on the language arts, or just journaling about an adventure that you've had. Maybe look back on some past camping experiences or trips you've done, and have your child write about those. So I do hope that you check out Stephen K. Smith's book, look for the next books in his series, and then tune in next time for another book on What's the Story. Thanks so much for listening. Make sure you hit that red subscribe button, and I appreciate all the support and feedback that you give, and I'm happy to share my passion for children's books with you. Have a good day.